If you've ever seen Leigh Whannell and James Wan's 2004 low-budget horror film Saw, you may recall squirming from the gruesome scenes of people slicing off their limbs, cutting open stomachs with rusty knives, burning to death, and dying in other various horrible traps. Or did you? Not really. I mean, kind of, but that's what I'm getting at. Sure, the sequels got pretty dicey, with some pretty gnarly scenes such as the rack from Saw 3, Saw 5's gut-wrenching pendulum trap, not forgetting the scalpel chair from Saw 4, or the first sequel's eye-opening Venus flytrap. I mean, quite literally. But this crude and brash torture porn label was penned and tagged onto the Saw series from nearly the very first feature-length entry. The sequels? Yeah, nobody's contesting that you'll probably be cringing and hiding behind your hands for the most part. But for a movie that's mostly set in an industrial bathroom that focuses on the sexual tension between the guy from The Princess Bride and Adam.
This is the most fun I've had without lubricant.
The only torturous thing is that they're so far away from each other. A lot of the gore in the first Saw film is implied. I mean, sure, we see some of it, but even The Hunger Games has gorier scenes than Saw 1. I mean, there's no denying that we do see a man's head get shot off, but... Wait. We've all seen Saw, right? Because I'm gonna be spoiling a lot of it. Like, pretty much the whole film. Not fully. I'm not gonna be spoiling, like, the last 5-10 minutes. Maybe the last 2 minutes. If you've not seen Saw yet, please, pause this video. Go watch it, then come back here. Don't worry, this is just a recording. By pausing the video, you're not gonna like trap me in some weird like Black Mirror reality where I'm like freeze frame for 90 minutes. It's okay. If I could watch this movie without knowing what happens, in fact, if I could watch the whole series without knowing what happens, whew, we can only dream. The ending of the first Saw film is not only one of the best horror movie endings, but one of the best movie endings full stop. That's period, if you're American. The music, the acting, the reveal of everything, it is honestly incredible, and even after watching Saw so many times, it still gives me chills. But anyway, there's no denying that we do see a man's head get shot off, and also somebody looking through guts to find a key. But surprisingly, the most gruesome trap in this entire movie is the barbed wire maze, and yet the most graphic it gets is some close-ups of some mild flesh wounds. So how could a film that probably only shows about 30 seconds worth of gore during its 1 hour 40-minute runtime be such a big part of this torture porn craze? Well, in January 2006, David Edelstein published an article in a New York magazine titled "Now Playing at Your Local Multiplex: Torture Porn." Just 3 months after the release of Saw's certainly more gory sequel, Edelstein, who I think I called Edelstein before, mentioned the Saw franchise among a list of films in comparison to Eli Roth's new blockbuster hit, Hostel, an intensely gruesome thriller he had just been watching through his fingers. And he apparently coined this new, soon-to-be infamous label after watching people get off on gory films the same way I guess they get off on normal porn. The sex kind. And after watching Saw X a couple weeks ago with my girlfriend and being sat next to a guy who, during a pretty gruesome scene, went, haha, nice. He's probably not that far off. But then Hostel's creator Eli Roth indirectly responded to the article by saying,
I think the term torture porn, who cares? I think it says more about the critics than it does about the film and their complete lack of understanding or frankly interest in those types of movies. You know, anytime the fans see a movie described as torture porn, they instantly know this critic doesn't know what they're talking about and they don't like horror movies.
When the AV Club asked creators Leigh Whannell and James Wan about the term back in 2010, Wan recalled some of his horror movie colleagues referring to it as lazy journalism, whilst Whannell had this to say. I'm gonna do a really bad Australian accent. I guess the term torture porn doesn't affect me one way or another. I don't love the term, nor do I really hate it. For me, it's kind of hard to have any bad feelings about the term, because I guess torture porn has given me a lot of good things, like being able to work in the film industry and work as a screenwriter. Please rate that in the comments.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Like I mentioned myself, this description matches the sequels a lot more than the original, a film that James Wan himself has described as a mystery thriller and more like a whodunit. I think I know who done it. But with that article coming out way before Saw 3, where the series really ramps up the gore, it strangely seems that Edelstein considers this mystery thriller about two guys locked in a bathroom that has a couple scenes of gore here and there a big part of this craze and likely inspiration for worse films. But the truth is, the gore in Saw 1 is kinda like a little blob of ketchup on your plate. You know, the rest of the film, like the bathroom scenes and the flashbacks and like the police side story, that's the meal. And then the gore is just this tiny little squirt of ketchup on the side. Other sources are also available. But despite Dr. Lawrence Gordon recalling the work of the Jigsaw Killer, we don't really see much of his work on screen at all, mostly just the aftermath. And these flashbacks showcase 3 traps: the barbed wire maze, the flammable jelly, and a reverse bear trap. In the barbed wire maze, we get a few camera snap close-ups of Paul Leigh's injuries after being given 2 hours to escape the countless layers of barbed wire and razor blades. Despite the police describing the scene as being so brutal that traces of stomach acid were found on the floor, Paul looks in pretty good shape, all things considered. You know, apart from being dead, but there's bits of dried blood on him and a pretty nasty but not too detailed looking gash. But apart from Jigsaw cutting out his signature puzzle piece from Paul, this scene could have been a lot worse. Instead, as part of Kevin Gruter's iconic editing style, we see a cheesy, sped up version of the events as he thrashes around in the barbed wire. Honestly, these scenes make me laugh so much, but it is so quintessentially Saw. The only reason I think people may squirm at this trap isn't because of a graphic scene of him tearing himself apart as he struggles through the sharp razors, because we never really see that happening, at least not in detail. It's the implication of the gore with the police description of his death and these quick flashes of photos. If this was any other Saw film, we probably would have had a bunch of close-ups of his skin splitting and blood splatting everywhere as they get stuck inside of him. But instead we just get this. Software analyst Mark Wilson's flammable jelly game is even less cringeworthy. Yes, accompanied with the crunching sound effect, the idea of walking on glass might send some shivers up spines. Like it probably would have been more effective. But when we see Mark finally go up in flames as the candle he's provided catches onto the flammable jelly Jigsaw coated him in, all we see is a quick cut from an alive Mark to a crispy corpse, and nothing more. We see someone on fire for longer in Hereditary. Hereditary. I don't know. When we finally make it to Amanda Young's iconic reverse bear trap scene, we see the future sequel star fighting her way out of a chair until she's given 60 seconds to find the key to the device on her head before it rips her skull open. Simply watching this same trap tear open a mannequin head on TV with ease throws both Amanda and the viewer into panic mode as we begin to imagine the gore that such a device could cause. However, we don't even see the effects of the trap. At least not yet. The key to Amanda's freedom is in the body of Donnie Greco. That's a Saw producer, Oren Koulis, by the way. Yeah, it was kind of low budget. As a desperate Amanda finally starts slashing away at his stomach just as Donnie unexpectedly wakes up, we're not shown any flesh and blood. The body stuff, not the game. Instead, we get some creative shots of Amanda plunging the knife downwards with some gross squishing sound effects to accompany that gives us a pretty good idea of what we're not seeing. Do we see a couple seconds of guts after that? Okay, yeah, nobody's disputing that. But so much of the intense gore from this scene is imagined by the viewer. We certainly don't see Donnie's organs slipping out of his body like we do in Saw 5's pendulum trap. Instead, the gruesome actions that are happening off screen are planted in our mind, and with the help of implication, clever camera angles, and sound, like squishy sound, we can fill in any of the gruesome blanks ourselves without actually seeing any of the torture porn. This continues later on in the film where we finally see Dr. Gordon snap and start cutting away at his leg with one of the rusty toilet saws, and I recalled until rewatching the film recently that this was a pretty hard scene to watch. He gets the saw, he starts cutting away, and we don't really see anything. Like we see a couple seconds of blood, and then the rest of it is just Adam screaming. I mean, sure, we see a few cringeworthy seconds of him slicing away at his leg so hard that the actor Cary Elwes actually cut his leg with this blunt saw, but luckily for us, and the readers of the New York Magazine, James Wan was courteous enough to not show us Dr. Gordon cutting through his flesh and his cartilage and bone, and instead just planted the idea of what was happening in our minds. In place of the gore, we're getting shots of Adam panicking and screaming at him to stop, and close-ups of his face as the color drains from him. Yeah, the sounds are really gross, but the build-up in suspense, the dramatic music, the decision to cut back and forth between Detective Tapp and Zepp fighting, and then Adam panicking on the other side of the room as Gordon is slicing through his leg. Cinema. It really made this moment so much more interesting and enjoyable than if we just got a long and gruesome shot of Gordon sawing off his foot. And we don't even see any detailed shots of his foot or his leg after it happens. This might have been because of the budget, but I'm glad. Such an iconic and talked about scene is merely the products of film wizardry, and so it's such a shame to see it reduced to a controversial label like torture porn. But yeah, he did actually cut his leg, so I guess says that. The most gruesome death in the entire film comes just after this, as Adam repeatedly slams down a toilet lid on what sounds like a very messed up body. We don't need to see the mushed up corpse. The blood, the sound, the acting, the camera angle, it's enough. So when I saw that vomit bags were being handed out at screenings of Saw X, like it was Terrifier 2 or something, I thought back to when this series did so much with so little and didn't rely on immense gore to tell such a great story. But I do like the gore, okay. But I recognize it's mostly marketing. So many people do like these films because of the gore and aren't actually that bothered about the story, and I wanted one of those vomit bags and we didn't have any, so cough up, Lionsgate. I actually recently wrote a 5,000 word video essay about Saw and how they accomplished so much from so little. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to make that video happen. I barely have enough time to make this video happen because in a few days my band are losing score. I go into America for the very first time. If you're in the East Coast of America, please come see us. That'd be cool. But if anybody's enjoyed me rambling about Saw for the last 10-15 minutes and would like to see a full video where I just talked about how much I love that film, let me know, because if enough people want to see it, maybe I'll put the time into making it happen. It's not going to be like a step-by-step, like in this scene, this happened, but I kind of want to talk about how it was made and the origin of Leigh and James working on the Saw films. You know, I think if I had a time machine, I would go back to 2004, just after Saw came out, pick up James Wan and Leigh Whannell, take them to 2022, show them Terrifier 2, which is pretty gross and disgusting, and then tell them that that film is going to be compared to sequels of this film they just made with pretty minimal gore, and see how they react, and then also have the time machine properly taken off me for squandering such fantastic technology. But either way, I think they'd be shocked. Saw 1 is not a torture porn film. Did the audiences resonating with the implied gore influence the series going in that direction? Most likely, but it's safe to say you could probably watch Saw 1 with your friends and family without causing too much mental anguish. Thanks for watching.
It's the rules.